Hi everyone and welcome. If you're looking for something special to make for Valentine's Day this year, these are buttercream filled cakes covered in chocolate. A moist, rich cake filled with buttercream, covered with chocolate, both dark and white. I think you'll enjoy this recipe, so let's get started. So we're going to start by mixing our dry ingredients. 2 cups of flour, 1.5 cups of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to mix those together and get those incorporated. Once those are mixed, I'm going to start on my wet ingredients. For my wet ingredients, I'm going to take 2 eggs, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and whisk those together. Once I have my eggs whisked up, I'm going to add half a cup of vegetable oil, whisk those together really well, half a cup of milk, one cup of water, and half a teaspoon of orange zest. And we'll whisk those all together. I want to start incorporating my dry ingredients, so I'm going to add everything a little bit at a time. Whisking as I go. Whisk really well to make sure your sugar gets thoroughly dissolved. That's starting to smell really amazing. I'm just going to add the rest of this in and whisk that in. Once your cake is well beaten, we're going to get it into our pans. I have 2 8x12 pans here. You can use the little disposable ones, they work great. And I'm just going to divide my batter equally between the 2. You can weigh them if you like. I'm just going to eyeball it. Once my batter is in my pans, I'm going to tap them lightly for any air bubbles. And I'm going to bake them at 325 for about 20 minutes or until they're a light golden brown on top and they spring back when I touch them lightly on the top. And my cakes are out of the oven. I've set them on a wire rack to cool, and I'm going to let them thoroughly cool before we handle them any further. While my cakes cool, I'm going to make my buttercream frosting. So I'm going to take 1 stick of butter and add that to my stand mixer. Make sure your butter is softened. To that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to cover that and cream that together. Once those are lightly creamed together, I want to start adding my powdered sugar. I'm going to be using 2 cups of powdered sugar, and I'm just going to add about half of that right now. I'm going to cream that together a bit again. I'm going to add the rest of my powdered sugar at this point. Cover again. And cream it all together again. Once those have creamed together and are really creamy, I want to add a few drops of red food color. And then I'm going to cover and cream them together again. Once I've creamed them together a bit and I see that I have the color I want, I'm going to add just a little bit of milk to thin it out. That came out great. We're just going to set this aside until we're ready to fill our cakes. And now for the fun part. We're going to cut these out and decorate them. I'm going to run a butter knife around my cake, get it out of the pan. Once I've loosened my cake, I just want to take it onto the wax paper, flip it over, and then flip it over again so that I'm working with it right side up. Get rid of those crumbs. Once my cake is out of my pan, I want to cut out my heart shapes. I'm going to take my cookie cutter, press down firmly. I had to improvise a cutter for this because my cookie cutter was not tall enough. This yields a very moist and amazing cake. You will love this. It's perfect for covering with chocolate. So you can improvise. If you can find the right height, that's great. But otherwise you can improvise with a little cardboard. Extend your original cookie cutter, as I did, with a little cardboard and aluminum foil, and it works just great. Now don't throw the excess away because this is a lot of cake. This is a wonderful moist cake, unbelievably moist cake. So what you can do with the excess is make cake pops, which I'm going to do. This batter lends itself perfectly to making cake pops. So I'm just gonna pop that in a bowl in the meantime and set it aside. Now it's time to fill them with my buttercream frosting. What I'm going to do is take one of these, make a hole using a wooden skewer or any small object you have, small rounded object, in the side, and just move it back and forth to create a space for the filling. I just want a little bit in the center of each one. You don't even need to use a tip for this. This is great. You can just pop the bag in there. So I've just made a hole like that just by pressing in, just like that. Once I have my hole, I'm going to set that down. I have my buttercream frosting in my bag. I'm going to snip the end. And just get it in there. Again, just pop my bag in there, squeeze, and pull. On to the next. These fill very easily, only takes a few moments. Again, get my bag in there, squeeze, and fill. I'm going to melt my chocolate now. I have 1 8-ounce bar of dark chocolate and 1 8-ounce bar of white chocolate, to which I've added 2 tablespoons of oil each. I've used sunflower oil today. You can use any mild oil you like. I've melted my dark chocolate and I'm just going to start dipping. I've let it cool for just a moment. It's still warm. I don't want it too cold and I don't want it too hot. You see, we have the perfect consistency for dipping. So I'm just going to take one of these and start dipping. I'm going to place it on a fork and then I'm just going to spoon the chocolate over it gently. drop it in momentarily, and pull it back out. Oh, that looks good. Spoon some more over the top. Oh, look how pretty those are. Let the excess drip off, and then place it on a sheet of wax paper. Grab the next one, place it on my fork, place it right in there, pull it right out. You don't want it absorbing that chocolate too much, and spoon the chocolate on top. Make sure you get the edges. Let the excess strip off and place it on our tray. On to the next. While my dark chocolate one's cool, I'll do my white chocolate ones. So my white chocolate is melted. Make sure it's not too hot. You want to let it cool off for a moment before you start dipping. Place it on our fork. Brush off any excess crumbs to avoid getting them in the chocolate. Pop it in there for a moment. Lift it back up and drizzle the chocolate over it. Make sure you get the sides. And place it on our tray. Dip it in, only for a moment. And spoon that chocolate on top. On to the next. Well, my white one's set. My chocolate ones are already set. They're really looking pretty. So what I want to do is dip them again to get a really smooth finish. And what I want to do is trim off the excess. And we're going to set those down and we'll re-dip them. As we can see, I have another 8 ounces of chocolate that I'll be melting down in a moment. Trim that right off. Comes off easily. So again, for our second dipping, 8 ounces of chocolate, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and we repeat the same process. We just take one of our hearts, pop them on a fork, and you don't even have to dip them in this time. The bottoms have been done. Spoon that chocolate over. You're really just doing this for the top finish as far as the second coating. Top and sides. This will give it a nice smoother finish. If you want them absolutely perfect, they look lovely even with the first coating. Get a nice coating on there. Let the excess strip off. Place that down. Now we're going to let those set. After they cool off, we'll put them in the fridge. And we'll repeat the process with our white chocolate ones. We'll give them a second coat as well. We'll do our white chocolate. That excess strip off and set it down. Grab the next. Excess strip off and set it down. Once my chocolate has set, again, I want to trim off the excess. Just go around the edges, trim off your excess. Try not to handle them too long. And set them down. Once we've trimmed off the edges, we want to drizzle with a little melted chocolate. I've just melted a little chocolate to drizzling consistency. thinned it out with a little bit of vegetable oil, and added some food coloring, and I'm just going to drizzle that on. Just to give it a little color and a final finish. And now we're just going to let those set and do our chocolate ones. I've thinned out a little chocolate, and I'm just going to drizzle some on top for a finishing touch. Use a back and forth motion. A final drizzle of chocolate is an amazing finishing touch for this. It really makes them shine. We're just going to let these set, and after that they're ready to be served. It's time for my taste test. I can't wait to try these. They came out fantastic. They look amazing. I'm just going to cut this right down the center. Oh, and look at that. I'm going to give it a little try. Oh yeah. These came out so good, guys. I really hope you give this recipe a try. It's absolutely amazing. That moist cake, that buttercream frosting, all covered with chocolate. Absolutely wonderful. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. I hope you give it a try. Please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more recipes like this.